Back home, and Australians descend on the shops ahead of the Boxing Day sales, of course. Warnings have been issued about buy now, pay later platforms. It may seem like a good idea at the time, but accountants are urging shoppers to use caution before opting for the services. For more, I am joined by Geraldine Magarey from Chartered Accountants. Thanks for joining us, Geraldine. And this is a huge issue, isn't it? Particularly with younger people who think, oh, that's great, I don't have to pay for it for later. But when you've got 5 or 6 things you've got to pay later, it's a real problem. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's one of those things where you think it's a good idea at the time, and if you use it properly, fine, but it's exactly that. People often have, you know, big debts from Christmas, from all their Christmas shopping, or the Boxing Day sales, get into a little bit more than they perhaps anticipated in the first place, and then the fees, if you miss a payment, actually are quite high. So there's no interest, but if you do miss any of your repayments, miss your instalments, there are very large fees that can come back to hit you.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like falling off a cliff. If, OK, you can pay later, but as soon as you default, it's not... You mentioned, they're enormous, aren't they, some of these?
Yeah, there could be, you know, processing fees, monthly fees, you know, default fees. So all those fees, they may not see a few, but if also you've got multiple purchases, if you made a couple of purchases, you know, over that month, all of those fees, it's fees per item. So it's a lot. What
would be your advice to those thinking about it? Is it moderation? Is it certain areas to do it in and not to do it in?
Well, first of all, plan ahead. I know it might sound boring, but make sure you've actually got the money and you know the money's coming in over that next time frame to actually be able to make those payments when they're due. Also, think about whether you really need it. You know, the average purchase price for these schemes is actually $150. So, you know, that's not a lot of money. So, you know, really, if you can't afford $150, can you really afford the item? So think about that, but also just plan ahead, make sure you've got those funds to cover off those instalments when they're due.
There's pretty much buy now, pay later schemes across anything that you can buy over the counter, most things that you can buy anywhere, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not just goods, it's even, you know, services, travel, all sorts of things. So again, you know, if you buy them, say, for a service or travel, and actually you've had that pleasure, it's not like the good that you're looking at and using for the next 6 months, that's, you know, been and gone. So, you know, really think about it. And often, you know, it's quite fulfilling to actually save for things. It might sound a bit old-fashioned, but, you know, saving up and actually that rewarding yourself that you've actually done, you know, achieved your goals.
And for older people who may have mortgages and have plenty of equity in their home, it would seem more sensible at times maybe the Commonwealth has a Viridian, all the banks have various loans that you can take against your home loan. If you want something desperately, you get it at that really cheap interest rate rather than walk down another avenue which could really scar you.
Well, if you've got the money to repay, these schemes actually, you know, are quite good in that there's no interest on them. So they're actually interest-free because the retailer actually pays the fees. So the retailer pays a fee and a percentage of the purchase price to the provider of that scheme. So if you've got the money and you pay on time, it's good. Just like a credit card, if you pay your credit card off on time.
How many people put it off, though? That's the problem.
Well,
that's why I'm suggesting this, is that just goes in that too hard basket. Next thing you know, I've had $900 worth of fees on it.
Yeah, so there was a couple of surveys over the last sort of year. ASIC found that 1 in 6 people actually miss a payment or get into some trouble, and another one actually found 30%, so almost 1 in 3 actually missing payments that they thought they, you know, would have the money to have, but then when the time came, for whatever reason, couldn't make those payments.
OK, I know there's no silver bullet, but what is your one tip for 2020 for people to improve their financial health, so to speak?
Well, we often think about our fitness and our careers, but I actually think it's a really important time to think about what I call your financial fitness. So, you know, plan ahead. Set some goals. Make sure those goals are, you know, they're big enough to get excited about, but also they're small enough that you actually can achieve them. So plan ahead, set some goals. Also, think about, you know, paying off debt. So any sort of small debts or high interest debt that you can, you know, pay off that first, and also to set up a savings plan. So it's really important when you get your pay your savings first. So don't wait for something to be left over, because as we all know, there's never anything left over if you wait to that. So put, you know, an automatic savings plan in place would be really good.
Yeah, it's great advice. And sometimes just being organised. Yes. You'd be surprised what you can save or what you can make money-wise by just being a little bit organised.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's thinking ahead, that planning ahead, and just being organised, knowing what bills, what commitments you've got coming up over the next, you know, pay period, and being organised to be able to meet those, but also to meet those savings goals.
Geraldine from Chartered Accountants, make sure you don't spend too much at Christmas, but have a good time.
I'm doing my Christmas shopping now, so.
Yes, all right.